Just to give you a little bit of background about what I do, I'm a board certified hematologist oncologist.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm a medical oncologist. I have practiced for a long time, 30 years plus.
I'm Tony Brandaw. I'm also a medical oncologist. Dr. Rapson brought me in back in July.
What myeloma is a cancer of a type of immune cells in your blood. All of us have those cells, but for certain reasons, those cells start behaving abnormally in patients with multiple myeloma.
So myeloma, I explain to my patients, like any kind of cancer, is just an overgrowth of cells. And the cell in question with myeloma is plasma cells. And so people oftentimes have never heard of plasma cells and don't know what those are. So I usually explain it that it's part of our immune system. It's part of our innate immune system that actually develops antibodies to help fight typically viruses. If people get vaccinated, they have this part of their immune system where they're supposed to store these antibodies. And so in myeloma with these plasma cells, you have uncontrolled, unstimulated growth. And really the plasma cells, the cell in question will go places and start to cause damage.
So there's no clear-cut increased risk in any particular groups of patients, but by far we see as people get older, there's a higher likelihood of being diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So majority of the patients are in their 6th and 7th decade of life when they get diagnosed. Not to say that younger patients don't get diagnosed. Personally, I've had patients in their 20s who've been diagnosed with multiple myeloma.
So in a young, healthy person, otherwise healthy person with myeloma, the treatment plan is usually a combination of drugs. Probably the most common is a combination of a drug called lenalidomide, Velcade, and high-dose steroids. And so the goal is to get that person into remission.
And it's usually specific to a patient in terms of what the treatment recommendations are for that individual patient. But in general, what we plan on doing for patients with multiple myeloma is to start off with a treatment regimen for about 4 to 6 months of chemotherapy. And this is not chemotherapy in the true sense of chemotherapy, the one that causes you to lose hair or has a lot of side effects, but this is chemotherapy that's more directed at myeloma cells. And after about 4 to 6 months of treatment, if the patients are healthy enough, we consider them if they can be eligible for a stem cell transplant. And patients who are eligible for stem cell transplant then get a stem cell transplant. Patients who are not eligible for transplant continue for a few more months on chemotherapy till they get the maximum benefit.
The other thing that we use a lot of what are called biphosphonates, which are drugs that build bone. So in the past, bone disease was huge with multiple myeloma because people would get these little holes in their bones and be at high risk for fracture. The biphosphonates are drugs that push bones to heal. And so if you can treat the myeloma, suppress the cancer, and push the bones to heal, then that person will be healthier in the long run.
Okay. So multiple myeloma is a disease that gets diagnosed. About 30,000 people will get diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2017. And there is still a lot of need to carry on the research in multiple myeloma. Like I said before, this is not a curable type of malignancy right now, and we still have avenues that we can explore to make this into a curable disease. And a lot of organizations are working really hard to raise funds for research in multiple myeloma, including ourselves at Kermanos Cancer Institute. There's an organization called Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. All of those foundations work very hard to raise awareness and also to support some of the patient support groups so that the patients can have somebody who they can talk to, share experiences as they're going through the treatment for multiple myeloma.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I think a lot of these therapies that people will be on or stay on, it's sometimes intimidating to think I'm going to be on chemotherapy the rest of my life. For a lot of patients, they may have breaks in treatment, but for people who are on therapy, I think for the most part, they do maintain their quality of life. I think a lot of the side effects from some of these therapies, at least, are minimal. We have to watch out for a few things with some of these drugs in terms of the neuropathy or numbness and tingling, but in general, we see a lot of patients go on able to do the things they want to do. I have a woman right now who has done exceptionally well with her treatment. She's still on therapy, but she goes and does 5Ks. basically every other month. And this is a woman a patient who has a lot of bony disease and is able to do things you wouldn't think somebody with this disease could do, especially being on chemotherapy, but she does. And I think anytime you have a cancer, it doesn't matter if it's myeloma or lung cancer, breast cancer, when patients are able to get to the point where they're living their lives, and doing the things they want to do and pushing the cancer sort of in the back of the mind, because I think it's always there, they're winning, and I think that's the goal, is to start winning again. If we can't cure this disease and at least turn it into a chronic disease and people are happy and living their lives, that's it. I mean, that's all we should all try to do, is just, find some quality of life. So I think we're doing pretty well with that.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Izzy Wallace, and after seeing the effects of what myeloma has on a family that I am so close to, really makes me appreciate what life is truly about. I wrote Grace's song for a little girl whose father was diagnosed with myeloma. I know the family really well, and I felt so helpless, like there was nothing I could do. So I decided to write Grace's song, named after the little girl, to remind her that everything will be okay no matter what happens in life. I set the song aside for a while, but then I got to thinking, what if we use the song to raise money? What if I share it with everyone? That's how I could help. I recorded in the studio and put together Grace's song for anyone who needs a reminder that life is beautiful and there is a lot of love. I partnered with the Karmanos Institute and launched a project called Music for Myeloma, a way to spread awareness through Grace's song. It is currently available on iTunes, Spotify, and many other music apps and websites. Every time you listen to Grace's song, the money raised from each download or play will go towards research for myeloma. I encourage anyone and everyone to search up Grace's song and download or play it on repeat. Along with fundraising, my goal is for everyone to have awareness and get this song out to as many people as possible. By using the hashtag #MusicForMyeloma, you can share or retweet this video to help get it out to even one more person. For more information on ways to give, or to learn more about myeloma, visit karmanos.org/ways to give or izzywallace.com. Not only will you be supporting research, but simply listening to this song can help change the lives of the patients and those around them.